What's going on, guys? My name is Wade with TechDaily. So a few months ago, I checked out a bunch of Amazon renewed smartphones, and they actually ended up being better than I expected, aside from some very dirty speakers, which were kind of gross. But I also said I would buy the acceptable condition variants next, which is what I did this time. If you aren't familiar, Amazon sells renewed items, everything from smartphones and other tech gadgets to household things, and they're basically gently used, refurbished, or maybe even just returned but never used items that get inspected, tested, and recertified, either by Amazon themselves or by their trusted third-party sellers. These renewed items tend to be sold at a pretty steep discount compared to their new-in-the-box counterparts, and the default one-click buy now option for the condition of renewed items generally is set to excellent condition. And 99 out of 100 times, aside from some small scratches and an ugly donor box, you do end up with a pretty good device at a great price. But if you want an even steeper discount and you're up for a little bit of a gamble, you can sometimes find good condition and acceptable condition as options. And I went ahead and bought 10 different acceptable condition smartphones from Amazon Renewed that we'll take a look at in this video. I'll try and give you as much information as I can, price I paid, the alleged seller. We'll obviously take a close look at each phone too and make sure everything works. And I'll be sure to link each one of these down below in the video description if you want to snag one yourself or at least browse the Amazon Renewed options. I will just say that in my own personal experience, I've purchased probably 30 or 40 different Amazon Renewed smartphones over the years, and I haven't had any issues yet. I think the standard for renewed or refurbished stuff is pretty high nowadays. There are so many third-party companies that specialize in recycling e-waste, refurbishing old or broken items, testing trade-in devices that get resold. So I don't expect anything too terrible here, but we'll see. And this video isn't sponsored by Amazon or the Amazon Renewed program. I bought all these with my own money, so I'm free to scrutinize the devices, the sellers, and anything else I see. But this video is sponsored by Jackery. This is the Jackery Explorer 1000, the smallest and lightest portable power station in its class, but with a 1070 watt-hour capacity and up to 1500 watts of continuous power output, it has enough oomph to be your power outage savior or your campsite quarterback. The Jackery Explorer 1000 has enough ports and plugs to power up everything, from smartphones, laptops, and tablets to lights and small appliances, like a coffee maker or a microwave. In fact, it's powering my entire desk setup here, and it's hardly breaking a sweat. It has 3 full-size AC outlets, 2 USB-C ports, and a USB-A port, along with a car charger port, and it even has its own built-in LED light. That definitely can come in handy. Not only can it keep your gadgets charged up, but it can also act as a full-on emergency battery backup, a UPS, with a 20 millisecond switchover during a power outage. If you're the outdoorsy type, you can easily take the Jackery Explorer 1000 with you. It is the smallest and lightest of its kind, and you can also pair it with the Solar Saga 200 solar panel. The Solar Saga is plenty portable too, but it folds all the way out to take in 200 watts of power from the sun, which can continuously power the Explorer 1000 if you live in an extra sunny state like I do, or recharge the power station in about 7 hours. If you need even more power, you can connect 2 solar panels to the power station for the ultimate outdoor power setup. And when it's time to come home and recharge, the Jackery Explorer 1000 can go from 0 to 100% in less than 2 hours, or under 1 hour with its emergency supercharging mode. And the battery inside is rated for up to 4,000 cycles before dropping below 70% capacity, which could be up to 10 years of use before it degrades. Jackery is running some great deals on this, the Solar Saga 200, and plenty more of their power products right now for Prime Day, so now is the time to get one. Click the links in the video description below to grab one of those great deals. So here are the acceptable smartphones I bought, and obviously the first thing you should know about buying from Amazon Renewed is you almost never get the original box. In fact, you might get lucky and get a box that at least denotes the retailer or company you bought it from, but more than likely, you'll end up with a completely blank mystery box. Or the wrong box. This Pixel 6 Pro is supposed to be black, but they stuffed it inside a sorta sunny box. I think we'll start with this smart device box, featuring a fun group of young people snapping a selfie with presumably a phone they also bought from Buy Spry, which is one of the Amazon Renewed sellers. Fortunately, we can decipher from this sticker that inside here is hopefully a 512GB midnight green iPhone 11 Pro Max, which I bought in acceptable condition for $285.34. Pretty good deal, but let's see what we get. There's a few things: an Amazon Renewed welcome pamphlet, along with another slip of paper reminding you to log out of your iCloud account if you send this phone back. There's a shark with 2 Ks lightning to USB cable, and double wrapped in plastic, here is the phone itself. I do like how it feels as if you're unwrapping a brand new phone, and fortunately, it did boot up on the first try. Condition-wise, well, it's actually not terrible at first glance. The back glass looks great. Darn near perfect, actually. But the sides have this bizarre lined pattern running up and down the polished stainless steel. I can't feel these scratches, or whatever they are, with my finger, but they're visible. It's almost like a stain from a case that was on this phone for a bit too long. But actually, there's a lot more prominent scratches and dings elsewhere on the frame, so maybe it's from something else. Truly, the worst part about this phone seems to be the frame. The back has no marks whatsoever, and the screen also looks great. I don't see any marks or scratches here. With the phone powered on, I did go ahead and run through the setup pages. There wasn't anyone's Apple account still logged in. Face ID worked perfectly. That's sometimes an issue if you replace the display, for example. And jumping on into settings here, you can see it is in fact a 512GB model. What I also found interesting is that somehow this phone shows 100% battery capacity, which likely means it has a fresh new battery installed. In testing everything out, the front and rear cameras worked without issue, the speakers were fine, the buttons on both sides and silent switch all functioned properly, the screen brightness seemed normal, the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi worked. There was truly nothing wrong with this phone aside from its pretty worn out stainless steel frame. So I think for this first acceptable condition iPhone, I would say this was a pretty good deal. Next up is, well, a true mystery phone from Trademore, which is a company that doesn't have the best reviews, but they are still an Amazon approved seller. There is really nothing about this box that tells me what's inside here. Even the sleeve isn't the right fit, but ripping it open, we see that it's actually a Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, which I bought for $308.86. I will give a bit of credit to this company. They tossed in both a Samsung USB-C cable and Samsung wall plug, along with a SIM ejector tool, so you get all the accessories. Unfortunately, this phone wasn't wrapped up as nicely as the last one, and the poor little stylus here almost popped out, but fortunately it did arrive with the phone. And right off the bat, you can sort of see that this phone almost looks like it got sneezed on. There's a whole bunch of speckles on the back that unfortunately can't seem to be wiped off, and a few more little dings and scratches on the polished frame of this phone too, but I think this one is in a bit better physical condition overall than the last phone. This one also powered on right away, and in swiping through the setup screens, I did come across some dreaded Verizon carrier bloatware. So although this is an unlocked device, it's still a Verizon device in regards to its software and IMEI, which isn't uncommon with these renewed devices, but still something to consider. Now, I immediately wanted to try out the stylus and make sure that that was both original and also just worked, and fortunately, it works just fine. It's the smart Samsung S Pen that's connected to this phone, and the rest of this phone works too. Cameras, speakers, buttons, Bluetooth, carrier connection, fingerprint sensor. There wasn't anything I came across that was busted or broken. I also think condition-wise, this is better than acceptable. So this is the phone on top right now. It feels like a pretty good deal. So now I have a trio of literally identical blank white boxes. I just picked up one at random, and you can see not a sticker, not a label, not nothing to tell you what's inside. But popping it open, I'm not gonna lie, this isn't a great first impression. There's an older third-party USB-A to USB-C cable just loose in there, and a Samsung wall plug, so maybe it's a Samsung phone, or at least an Android phone. Drumroll, please. It is actually a Google Pixel 8a that I bought for $294 from a company called RDX. And unfortunately, this phone is kind of rough. Well, actually, it's sticky for some reason. I think there was a big, huge sticker here that left some residue, but it's also just not in the best condition. Aside from the scratches and mystery marks that I'll come back to in a second, there's also a poorly fitted screen protector installed that I feared might have been hiding the actual condition of the front glass. When I peeled it off, Not only was it weirdly plasticky, but was also tinted dark, which I've never seen before. And taking a close look at the front glass, yeah, unfortunately there are some pretty noticeable scratches that I can not only see, but also feel with my finger. Certainly the worst looking front glass of the phones so far, and things get even worse everywhere else. This phone has a ton of scratches, dings, and dents all around. And you might also notice these black smudges. It took me a second to realize this is a black marker that someone used to try and cover up the bare metal that gets exposed with deep scratches on the aluminum frame. So since someone started the task of filling them in, I figured I'd contribute to that as well. I don't know if it was the company that did this or a previous owner. It's not the worst thing in the world, but collectively I would say that this phone is definitely the most obvious example of acceptable condition. And it's surprising how rough this phone looks since it's only a 1-year-old device. It also arrived with a totally dead battery, like dead, been sitting for a long time. Even plugged in for a few minutes, I couldn't get through the setup screens without it dying on me again. And when I finally did get into the phone, fortunately, everything did work. I think that's the most important thing with these acceptable condition smartphones. You want the actual phone to work as intended, even if the outside is a bit rough. And that was the case here. And I think the reason I was more bummed about this phone in particular was just that the other two I had unboxed first were so solid. So seeing this phone led me to believe that the first two were maybe way above average. That assumption proved not to be the case though. The rest of these phones were actually really good. The next white mystery box actually did have a label with a name. Inside here is the Samsung Galaxy A53, which I paid a measly $104 for. This phone was, what, $450 new? Inside here, we get a much better presentation. Some nice new third-party charging accessories from Adura, never heard of them, but that's cool, and the phone itself all snug in some bubble wrap. And aside from a slight sticker stain on the back, this A53 was actually flawless. So flawless, in fact, that it still had the original plastic wrap on the sides, which I promptly peeled off. The stickers were probably the only dirty part of this phone, and while it too arrived with a completely dead battery, charging it up revealed that it functioned perfectly fine too. Well, mostly fine. This was another Verizon phone with Verizon garbage on it. Still an unlocked device, but still mildly annoying, but otherwise a fully functioning and shockingly good condition smartphone for barely $100. I know this phone's a couple years old now, but this has got to be the best deal and best condition overall. I don't know if I just got super lucky with this one, but it was definitely a nice pull. For the final plain white mystery box, we're back to having no labels whatsoever, but flipping open the lid, I quickly realized this is yet another iPhone, a 3rd gen iPhone SE. And you can see the rest of the details there. I bought this phone for $134.99, and also tossed inside, I found a scary looking sheet of paper that actually is just another reminder to log out of your iCloud account if you return this phone for whatever reason. And then obvious third-party charging accessories. The wall plug, to me, actually felt kind of suspicious. It was like weirdly light and hollow, so I cracked it open just to see what was inside. And I'm not sure what I expected to find, but yeah, it was just a cheap wall plug. So here is the iPhone SE, and while my first impressions were pretty good, I did eventually notice similar stripes along the sides, like the iPhone 11 Pro Max from earlier, but these were more like spots or speckles, and I can feel them with my finger. The lightning port also seems to be pretty used up, but the phone powered on without issue. I was mildly concerned when I saw that it was already set up, and well, none of the apps were installed. Once I connected to Wi-Fi and double-checked that no one's Apple ID was on this phone, everything seemed good. As noted on the sticker, this phone unfortunately has just an 80% battery capacity, which isn't great, especially for this small, older iPhone. But aside from that, and a strange how-to screenshot image within the Photos app, everything else with this phone was fine and normal. Touch ID worked, the camera worked, the speakers, the buttons. When I shined my trusty light on the front and back, the wear and tear was a bit more obvious, and there were some thicker scratches on the back that I ultimately could feel with my finger once I saw them. But this phone, for being like 3 years old now, was in pretty good shape, and I don't think too many people would buy this phone now, but it's not the worst option in the world for the price. Within my next trio of boxes, I feel compelled to open this mangled cardboard one. It's been used, reused, and taped multiple times, and I can also feel that there's probably 2 or more phones inside because it's very heavy. And yeah, there was actually a lot inside this box. So first up, a pair of accessory packages from Awanta, and then 2 smartphones, a Galaxy Z Flip 3 and a Motorola Moto G Pure, and an Amazon packing slip. It's the Z Flip 3 that I'm obviously most interested in, and getting this phone out of its wrapping, I'm not sure what I expected, honestly, but this phone looks pretty good at first glance, at least. I paid just $218 for this Z Flip, and I know it's not the current Samsung foldable, but if you want to just try out a folding phone, I mean, that's a price you can't really beat. The hinge, the screen, all the delicate bits seemed like they were in good condition, but of course, it was dead on arrival. So while I go plug this one in, let me just quickly look at the Moto G Pure. I bought this phone because it was old and cheap. It's the 2021 G Pure, and it was not even $60, but it actually wound up being absolutely perfect. Like, it was never used, which, let's be honest, was probably the case. This isn't a great phone. But I mean, it is still a phone. It works like a phone, it runs Android, and everything I tested out functioned as it should. Even the old school rear fingerprint sensor dimple. I mean, this phone literally was in totally perfect condition, front to back, top to bottom. Even the ports looked like they had never seen a plug. I don't think anyone will ever buy an acceptable condition 2021 Moto G Pure, but for the price, I guess I can't really complain. Okay, so fortunately, the Z Flip did charge up without issue eventually, though the battery drained a bit quicker than I was expecting when I was looking through this phone. It ended up not being an issue eventually, but it was a little odd initially. And the other thing I came across was a whole bunch of marks and scratches around the outer display. The marks were actually on the metal housing, not the glass, but it leads me to believe that the outer screen maybe was replaced kind of crudely. There was a couple other small marks on the outer housing, but nothing major. And as far as that soft inside main display, well, I thought it looked good, but the closer I looked, the more scratches and indents I found. And there's a pretty big one at the bottom corner, and another one near the top. They're not obvious when you're using the phone, but they're there. Fortunately, the hinge was in great shape, as was the rest of the phone, including the outer display. It all worked great. The downside with buying a used foldable, aside from its perhaps rougher condition, is that Samsung won't warranty this thing. So you're on your own if and when it breaks. But to get a folding phone for this cheap now, even with some scratches and marks, I feel like is a pretty good deal. So I have 3 more phones left here, and I think we'll go with this Verizon Certified mystery phone. I hate that it is a Verizon phone. I hate that the sleeve also doesn't fit this box, but let's see what's inside. It is another iPhone, a purple iPhone 12 that I paid $196 for. Now, since this is actually from Verizon, I figured the unboxing experience would be slightly better, and it was. The phone was also nicely wrapped up, and it powered on right away. Well, actually, it died almost immediately, but a few minutes on the charger and we're all set up with a new-to-us iPhone. So aside from a bit of sticker residue on the back, which was my own fault, and some scratches and marks that hint at a former case being wrapped around this phone, this iPhone 12 was also in really good condition. In fact, the screen was almost flawless, except for one scratch up near the top. So I wonder if maybe this is even a new screen or replacement screen for this phone. As far as everything else, well, there's not much more to say. The phone worked, the bits and pieces worked, Face ID, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, the speaker, the buttons, the cameras. I would certainly expect that from a Verizon renewed device. They're a big name brand company. They literally just do phones. So this is another thumbs up from me. Our second to last offering, fortunately, has the phone name smack dab in the middle of the box. This will be an S21 Plus, hopefully. And flipping open the lid, fortunately, that's exactly what we get, along with the trio of standard accessories, which is nice. I paid just $165 for this phone, also pretty nice. What wasn't nice was this god-awful sticker stuck crudely on the camera lens, which, when pulled off, left the worst sticky residue ever. So unnecessary. And there was also a cheap, thin screen protector pre-installed too. On the bottom, I found a void sticker and a mystery U sticker in orange, also annoyingly left residue. And the phone itself, I'm gonna joke here and say, actually looked like a galaxy. There was white speckled scratches all around that sort of looked like stars. The phone fortunately powered on just fine, and again, in testing everything out, everything worked, except when I got to the camera. To probably no one's surprise, it showed a very cloudy, blurry image. That was, of course, because of the sticky sticker residue smeared all over the lenses from earlier. It took some extra wiping off, but eventually it cleared up, and I would highly recommend to the company not to do that, even if they are trying to protect the camera lenses. Once again, not a ton to say about this phone. It's in really good shape, aside from those speckled scratches on the frame, and for the price, I think this was yet another win. Last but not least, we have this. This is a Pixel 6 Pro, but it isn't a sorta sunny Pixel 6 Pro. It's supposed to be black, like this giant ugly sticker suggests. I paid $154 for a black one, and inside the incorrect box, we do get the correct phone, all wrapped up in a strange rubbery plastic bag, paired with another loose USB cable, and then literally nothing else. I feel like a donor box might have been the better option here, honestly. And I've also never seen a USB cable with purple inner bits before, so that's fun, I guess. As for the phone, well, it actually is in way better condition than the first Pixel phone, fortunately, but that's not saying much. The USB port was a little dented, and one of the camera lenses had like dust or speckles of some sort under the glass. I'm not entirely sure what this is. I don't remember it being on this phone originally, and to no one's surprise, it also arrived with a completely dead battery. Now, luckily, after I did get it charged up, everything on this phone worked as expected, including the cameras. So as far as I could tell, I really don't know what all those speckled spots were inside the telephoto lens there, but I couldn't see it in the viewfinder or when I snapped different pictures. So maybe it's a non-issue, but it is a little odd. And aside from a couple minor dings and scratches, the rest of the phone was actually in pretty good shape. Poor presentation, questionable camera, but a very good device for being an alleged acceptable condition smartphone. Oh, and I almost forgot, for you port peepers, none of these phones had any crud, crust, crumbs, or dust inside the charge ports, the speaker grills, or the earpieces. Truly nothing, so maybe these sellers learned to prioritize cleanliness there, unlike what we saw last time. All in all, I feel like I got really lucky with most of these phones. I mean, they were supposed to be in acceptable condition, but 11 out of 12, I would say, were in good condition, and most were even in excellent condition. The worst of the bunch was the Pixel 8a, but honestly, it wasn't that bad. I'm probably just a bit picky. I think that if you want to save some extra dollars on a new-to-you smartphone, maybe opt for an acceptable condition one if it's offered. Take a gamble. You might save 40 or 50 bucks or more, and you could end up with a way better condition phone than you'd expect. But what do you guys think? Would you buy an Amazon Renewed smartphone or any other Renewed product? Have you bought one before? Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts, of course. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video though. Be sure to follow TechDaily on Twitter and subscribe to the TechDaily YouTube channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys later.